All right, y'all. We are live indeed. We are up in the building. And yes, all right. You see who I got up on the screen with me.
What's going on?
Yes.
How y'all doing tonight?
All right. You see who I got up on the screen with me. Oh, you got some slight feedback. Uh Trying to see if there's a way you can you probably need a headset. I don't know. I'll probably turn it down a tad bit. Yeah.
That hook it up.
Yeah, I feel you, man. Yeah, my bad. I tried to get on her to talk to you a little sooner, man, but I was trying to like they got the StreamYard set up a little differently for the cell phone app these days. So I'm like, oh man.
Yeah, I've been noticing those things. Even the live broadcast studio, of which I don't have enough subscribers yet to do that, but they made a few changes already. Because when I first got on YouTube, you could go live as long as you were on a platform like web, laptop, you good to go. Then they changed it up to where you can interface a lot of other effects. So, I've got a lot of learning to do.
Yeah, man, I feel you. And yeah, we gonna we just definitely probably get started here a little bit different. We got some new people in the building. Bradley Forgy, good to see you up in the building, man. Um, Bradley, I think, yeah, Bradley 45. That's how you said it. Okay. Yeah, good to see you up in the building, man. Good day, good day. Uh, what's up, DJ Moss? What up, Brown dude? Always good to see you up in the building as usual. Uh, yeah, like we talked about, uh, we just gonna go about differently than what everybody else doing out here with this whole topic of high value man because we're actually gentlemen. And I guess if you want, Venom, just give us a little bit of your background, or and then maybe go in on your idea of a gentleman versus high value man, or if you sometimes see that as similar or different.
All right, a little bit about my background. I got started with YouTube somewhere around about 2009 originally, and then it was just a matter of me doing a few little videos. It was an app that came available on the phone, and then I figured, hey, I can capture and document some of my progress on me rebuilding, some of the damage that my body sustained that basically made me a disabled vet. And it was just something at the time. It was a good platform that was somewhat multimedia with video, with still photos that you can incorporate, but you could timestamp. So I got off into it a bit, had different camera phones because I've always been a photographer, an artist, martial artist, former Marine, somebody that, I believe in creativity over the commercialized duplication. And, I believe in something authentic has more value than something that's just echoed and mass produced. My idea of a high value man, or my expression of that as such, or even let me start off, my idea of a gentleman. A gentleman is somebody that can be cordial, professional, hold tight to their morals and values, and not sway on that. A gentleman could be compared to basically those that were in honorable positions in more classic or Renaissance times. A person that their status, their monetary wealth, and their mindset were all of the like mindedness to where you could see balance in every aspect. They weren't out basically trying to say, hey, I have this, so I'm this. A gentleman you don't have to speak much of. Your elders will address you as such because you'll represent that in the cloth that you're formed of. Now, a high value man, speaking of in present times, I see a high value man as being somebody that, similar to the gentleman, has moral standards and values that they are unwavering with, but at the same time, they're the individual that They don't need outside or external influence to be just that. They're high value because whether it's a person to person relationship, dealing with the same gender, dealing with the opposite gender, or even just dealing with the general public, a high value man is somebody that'll be a contributor, somebody that will be willing to initiate, lead, to put forth that effort. And it's not really even requested of them, but it's something that they do out of nobility, as in a comparison of knights of the round table, or those that, carry themselves in a certain regard to where there is no question about it. They're valuable to their friends, their families, their loved ones, and even those, that would consider them for long term, short term relationships, or even just a general bond and likeness of the mind. But just, to introduce and get started with that, give you a little flavor of where my head's at. That's my input on a high value man and a gentleman.
Yeah, buddy, and that's a good breakdown. So that's the difference over here, y'all. We want y'all to see that high value man is not a gentleman. It's different, but they're not the same. So that's what we're doing different over here versus what you've been hearing elsewhere. Uh, Looks like Bradley 45 said something here. A good definition of Venom. A gentleman is a man who has integrated integrity. Yeah,
Man,
yeah.
great minds think alike. And shout out at Bradley 45. Welcome. I'm glad you took the invite and came through to rock with us and contribute your input. It's always appreciated.
Yeah, we're gonna. I think like what we've been noticing, what me and Venom have talked about in the back chat was mainly how lately, like with this whole high value man. And before I get to that, did you notice Venom how like the thumbnail for our live stream is in a blue color? Hint, hint. So it's all about the gynocracy. It's all about the blue pill, and obviously that doesn't that has nothing to do with the color shirt you're wearing either. So let everybody know that for sure.
Hey, I can take it off now.
Hey, hey, hey. Oh man. So yeah, we definitely see, to me, like how they're wording the high value man is actually more blue pill than what they realize, and that it's all about the validation to get around the female. I think since we last talked, Venom, in the short period of time, we kind of took a break from our earlier back chat. I checked out a few videos here and there, uh, outside of everybody's main YouTuber that has came up with the high value man. And we're not going to say names, but just in regards to everybody else that's made a high value man video, I've noticed that it always starts out with a female. How to be high value to attract a female, or to have them around, or what she likes in a high value man. Even though we see, like with the gentleman, never had this in his mind. The real gentleman never thought this way. So it's like, to me, I see in this day and age with the high value man, it's similar to tricking in many ways. You know, with what has to be about what hey, to get the female, yeah. And then they always put in there, okay, the high value man, wants to be around the high value woman. They'll add that in, mix that up together.
And I do see that a lot, not just in these YouTube streets, but also I see that within general society. You see, so much has been over sexualized in the United States and a few Western influenced nations that people feel like that's their only value. But if sexualization is your only value, then you're up for a nice trip and fall, because it's basically like either you're bred for this, born for this, or that's just the way that you were raised. But a high value man, literally, in your presentation and your personal representation, your confidence, that has nothing to do with attracting a woman. That is what you call a icing on the cake kind of scenario. That happens when you are steady and steadfast, standing on your square, and then you allow those to come along, recognize that. 9 times out of 10, a high value man is not only going to be confidently knowing and showing that without the attempt, but it'll be reinforced and reassured from the opinions of others. But the opinions of others is not what contributed to him being. He was, he is, shall be, similar to those that stick to the word in their spiritual strength. That's another way, and one of the most important ways, in my opinion, to being a high value man. The denomination has nothing to do with it. Your specific religion has nothing to do with it. But in the way that
Uh-oh.
you conduct yourself on code,
Red up in the building. We got
shout
Red
out
up in the
to
building.
Red.
Just quickly giving a shout out to Red. I know we got Kujin 87. We got I am sweet in the building. But then I've never seen Red show up here actually in the building before like this. So thought we'd throw a quick shout out to him right quick for show.
Salute Red Spring. But yeah, high value man, you're gonna be that. It ain't got nothing to do with doing that for a particular reason. The same way you would address your elders, your loved ones, being a high value man is like that. Integrity. You can be counted upon to stay solid. You're not gonna waver. You're not gonna be one of those people that because there's female validation available or even directed to you, it's going to shift up your behavior. You're literally going to be solid, the same individual, and the whole time you're going to make sure that, you know, if you speak on it, that's what you're going to be about. If you don't speak about it, you're going to let your actions show it instead of using words. You have high value men that can do both. They articulate and enunciate well, but at the same time, that is not what made them a high value man. High value man comes from balance, being balanced in one, handling your business, your finances, paying your bills, monitoring your credit, taking care of the things that are within your realm of protection. But at the same time, even if you were solo taking care of yourself as a bachelor, being a high value man is one that could still be depended upon to accept those responsibilities and do so in a way to where you don't have too much pride. There's definitely not arrogance, but it is definitely instilled confidence. High value man.
Yeah, buddy, and just so that we making clear to everybody, we me and Venom, we just kind of break it down, sort of our idea of what high value man can possibly be versus what society is doing with how it is validating a female. But at the same time, also letting y'all know that being a gentleman is separate from high value man. The gentleman is kind of it's a different level. It actually involves kind of your background from the concrete, as some of us like to say, and like sometimes even what Red might say with being 10 toes down, the whole gentleman aspect of it. High value man is more so like the mainstream version of the gentleman, but the gentleman is kind of on a different level as well. So I see a lot of juxtapositions, if you will, just a lot of different just if you look up just the juxtaposition, it's like the fact of two things being seen or placed close together with contrasting effect. And I guess when people try to mention high value man, they also in the back of their mind think of gentleman. But as you and me, Venom, we know that it actually has a contrasting effect if one really try to put two side by side. But I think there is some good qualities to a high value man. But I guess one thing maybe you can touch upon, Venom, is one thing I learned, or at least what I found out about, was the whole high value part. So me, of course I get it. Value is it's kind of based on a worth system that someone puts upon a certain item or person. So yes, that's the validation right there. Someone had to think you were high value in order for you to be considered a high value man. Whereas to me, the gentleman, he didn't think about that. He didn't care about what people thought about him.
I agree in a lot of aspects there because the gentleman was raised to be as such by elders. You know, they speak of the classic man as well. Classic man, we're looking at an era from the 20s to the 60s. You know, there's certain things that were ritualistic and passed down of how you are to cater to and do things for your lady in your life, your wife, how you would treat even just an acquaintance or girlfriend. But the difference I still see in it is a high value man. Some people look at it automatically as, well, he's got a lot of resources, or he's got a lot of knowledge, or he's got a lot of heart that he puts into anything that he does. A high value man could be like your De Guerre or your Picasso artist, you know, from the impressionistic or post impressionistic stage. It could also be a person that was considered, you know, for a knighthood. You know, a high value man is somebody that can be accounted upon by his brothers to show that accountability and have that stability to where when your brother needs a hand up, you know, you can do that. And you're not doing that for any praise or adoration. You're doing that because that's a part of your nature. A gentleman, a lot of it was taught to you and it was passed down. You know, you'll hear your grandfather or your father, you know, they passed down those gentlemanly qualities, which is also abbreviated to G a lot of times these days. And being a G, as a lot of folks who have had experience in any urban situation from the streets, you know that there's things that, hey, you got to be accountable. You know, there's laws and codes to it. There's things that you got to do. And it doesn't matter if times get rough. That's what you got to do is hold tight to that. You got to make sure that the people around you, your left and your right. Another example I'll give is militant structure, being in the military. To be an officer and a gentleman, they look at those as a cut above, not quite better, but a cut above in what's expected in the way that they handle themselves and their mannerisms. A high value man could be that lowest ranking individual that's just as important as the rest. But at the same time, when you get in that clinch, that's the one you want to be in the foxhole with. That's the one you want to make sure that is leading your group as the fire team leader or the squad leader. I've had experience being those things. Very short time. Career didn't last near as long as I wanted it to. But at the same time, I was recognized by peers and some superiors in just about every
Wow.
level of training to be a high
You brought
value.
up you brought up something very deep that has not been touched upon. Is the fact that high value man is actually something that can be hierarchical. You know, you put a high value on someone, like even a gentleman who could be a cut above can put a high value on a man. See, no one has said that before. That's deep.
Well, that's what we're here for. We're here to chop it up and clear the air, get another perspective out there, do it on a positive note. You know,
Yes,
a
sir.
lot of times some people get to debating and they want to be oh so right and they'll want to respond as opposed to, you know, take in knowledge, chop it up, allow things, you know what I'm saying, to marinate. You know, if you absorb and then you digest, you know, as you ingest before you reflect and regurgitate, more often than not, you're going to tactfully have a response that is more superior than one that would be just something just to be given a reply. Given a reply, that's shallow. That's like text messaging. But we here live, clear and day. You know what I'm saying? I don't have an avatar that I use because I feel like when it's time to speak and it's time to be heard and to say it loud and clear, I want people to know exactly where it's coming from. Just as simple as if I was to walk up to somebody on the street, maintain that eye contact, a firm handshake, my posture, you know, shoulders is back, chest is out, because hey, I put in the work. But it's not, you know, trying to act like I'm something I'm not, you know. High value men, you can smell it. You know what I'm saying? A high value man, you're going to sense it. You're going to see it. And what I did a few hours prior to this live stream, so I would make sure that one, I wouldn't be a fraud up here speaking on something I knew nothing about, and to make sure that the experience that I could share would be seen and received as such, coming from a high value man, of something that even before tonight, I didn't worry about claiming because, hey, I just live my life and do me. But I've heard from several acquaintances, several exes, and several ladies out there that I would be considered a high value man for several reasons. Now, in that, the breakdown that I'd like to contribute, to this chop up is that one thing that was consistent that I heard from just about all of them, the importance of integrity, honesty, loyalty, balance, and consistency are some of the main qualities that formulate a high value man. And notice when I speak of a high value man, that word value a lot of times will bring up what's the price or what are you going to have to pay for that? High value men have put in the blood, sweat, the tears. They've studied, they've put in that time. They've learned from their superiors so they can emulate those best qualities and have that be something that is a reflection of themselves to proudly look in the mirror. And then when you get that adoration or that acknowledgement from those that are not within your head space, what they'll do is basically reinforce that. They were telling me, hey, you're an honest man. You're somebody that you don't lie to achieve anything that you want. You don't take shortcuts. You don't mind putting in that hard work. All these qualities and things. One thing about a high value man, of which I had to recognize from what I've heard, I may be one of those. Now, I'm not a high finance or resources man. I do well. I did well because when I was in my youth, I put in that work. I had that consistency and that effort. I didn't let delays, setbacks, trials, or tribulations stop me from attaining and reaching my goals. But also along the way, I took the time to motivate those around me to make sure that if they were having issues, I didn't down them, I didn't bash them. And an example I give, I was on a forced march for who knows, maybe 30 to 50 miles. And during that time, it came at a point in training that literally your mind, your body, and your very soul is getting shook. You're being tested on many planes and many aspects. And because I had motivated those around me so much, when it finally got to that point where my body was trying to get to that point of failure, muscles just, giving out, nutrients gone, going without food, barely any water for a duration of time, which is very similar to fasting. I found that those around me that remembered my motivational words, my example, and the fact that when they slipped, I helped them up, made sure that I didn't even have the opportunity to slip. They said, hey, you're carrying your head low. That ain't you. You're no quitter. You never gave up before. You ain't going to do it now. High value men, it's like iron sharpening iron. They're going to be there to hold you accountable because what you spoke upon, not only are they going to hold you to it, but if they see that you have that chink in your armor, that brotherhood is going to step forward and say, hey, you know what? I got your 6. I got your 3 o'clock. I got your 12 o'clock. We all getting through this together. None of us is perfect on this earth. None but, of course, Yah, Jesus, and, the Lord above. But in that, being made in his image, folks got to recognize that in those scriptures, no matter how methodical or how much of a parable or even psalm that you want to read into, it still holds true even today. High value men are spiritually grounded on a level to where you can't get shook. An example of that, I had not one, but actually a couple of near death experiences. And in both of them, confidently, I walked. Confidently, I remained calm. Confidently, I was prepared from work put in prior. So you can call all of that the challenge, the pain, the trial in itself always a blessing because it was showing what my metal was, what I was forged of, and what I was capable of, even on the brink of death. So a high value man is not just somebody that's physical or someone that gets adoration from women from them lusting for them. A high value man, like I said, holds himself accountable to his morals, values, and standards. He holds himself accountable to challenge himself, better himself on a daily basis. Self improvement is one thing, but when you do it on a level of physical, mental, and spiritual, then you have that balance that is going to reinsure some success. I'm going to let you take it from there, Ray J.
Oh yeah, man, you went ham, man, because you basically, like we're redefining what high value man should mean. Because like I said, to me, what it means now is kind of like similar to tricking, because you're doing it for the validation, whereas the way you just beautifully explained it, high value man basically should be the value, the high value that people put on you because they can count on you. You know, you're worth the value, you're worth the investment, you're dependable. So it becomes more of a it becomes less of what they would probably say like group acceptance, more so based on cooperation. You can depend on the person. So I think going from that point, I was going to say like you know uh overall, just given that there's a lot of different opinions, to me, in order to be a higher value man, because notice, not high value man, but to be a higher value man, you have to first make that type of man. So yes, to be that man, you have to make that man. So a good example to me is Tony Stark. Tony Stark was an Iron Man until he built the suit for himself. And of course, that suit was symbiotic to him. So he became one with the suit. He became one with this value. We got a lot of guys talking about suits, and me and you, we touched upon this in the back chat. Okay, these suits, what are these suits for? If it's just to show off, that's not enough. No, the value comes from the function of the suit that you put on. Is it symbiotic to you? Are you like Tony Stark with it? Because obviously Iron Man was a greater version, a much greater version of Tony Stark. So to me, it's like, let's not call this an alter ego. Let's just say this is like being new and improved, you know, because I think like that's what it hasn't been talked about. It seems more or less like you said. We talk about this place where we want to be, but we're not talking about what it takes to get there. We're not talking about the pains and the sufferings and the trials and the tribulations and the scars, the lack of a home, the lack of a place. Before you were eating steaks, you was eating ramen noodles. Before you knew of high value, people saw you as low value, and only those few people appreciated your value. So I think all this is, in essence, what the gentleman already understands. But if someone sees him as a high value man, or he knows how to put value on another man as high value, this is totally a different ball game versus what we've been hearing out here in the mainstream.
I totally agree with that. I'll add that transcendence. You have to transcend the physical in order to chisel, mold, and sculpt yourself into something that's going to ascend beyond your normal abilities. I have a motto that I've stood by, tried and true, for a very long time since my youth, and that is you see it, meaning you envision it. You look at it as if it's already going on. You already there. You've already achieved it. And then you believe it, meaning that you have some faith in it, meaning that no matter what comes up, you're not going to get shook from that navigation. And then you achieve it, which is not your final destination, but it is that tier of accomplishment that allows you to stack another brick and continue to build that temple and to shape it where you need it. Because we do what we do, not only because of what we demand from ourselves, but what is expected of us, what we can contribute. As men, automatically, we know in society we are disposable. So, in being disposable, what natural of a choice to have on the front line for defense, to have for defense of the home, the family unit, than the man? To be a high value man is one that understands things and tactics like Sun Tzu, things like different war fighting tactics, strategies, styles, arts, forms. Knowledge, when properly applied, is power. But just like I said, in transcendence, to be a tailor, to be one that sculpts, builds as an artist, that molds clay, and doing this with your physical by utilizing spiritual and mental to take those steps towards in progress, that is how Iron Man was able to take his knowledge and understanding and then to supplement where he lacked physically. Because if you remember and recall, the very base power system for his suit was something that was actually a medical device that he developed. And beyond that, it powered the suit, which allowed him to have flight, armor, weaponry. Those are things that can be physical, mental, and spiritual. So it still sticks with what I said before, being balanced. Something that if you are a balanced individual, people will feel calm around you. When you're a balanced individual, it's hard to shake you off your square. Your foundation is solid. If your foundation is solid, then you can build up another tier. You can fill your cup with more knowledge. Knowledge, when properly applied, is power. So it's not a matter of thinking that, oh, I'm smart, I know it all, I got this degree. That's not value. The value then that you're judged by externally is your results. When you take that knowledge and that degree, and you don't just go out here like the rest of the lemmings, fill out an application, get a job, and work to make someone else richer, but you actually invest in yourself. You work for yourself. You become an entrepreneur. That's being high value. Whether you make enough to make ends meet and enough to reinvest in yourself, or you make enough to ball out, either way it goes, that is high value as opposed to just an accomplishment that you want to brag about. A gentleman is one that exercises humility. High value is someone who, from their very molecules, is humble. Being humble and exercising humility, very similar, but they're just as different as being a gentleman and being a high value man.
Yeah, so this is definitely we're basically taking the masculine approach to what the high value man should be versus what I believe is more so the feminine approach that I think I've been hearing lately because I mean literally that's why when I guess in the title of the live stream it was titled high value man overrated. Well, it's literally been overrated. You know, not to like throw somebody under the bus, but it literally has been something more overrated where you just put it, it should be something more subtle, more humbling, more of a minimalist. You know, we don't hear people talking about this. Uh let me see, Nicola J. She said, I've had to reevaluate my understanding of high value. A big part of high value is non-financial. Exactly.
Yeah.
You know, but yet everybody's been talking about the financial with high value, and it has nothing to do with that. We just explained how it's basically non-financial.
It includes the finances because it doesn't matter how value you are, you still have that thing of personal accountability. And if you don't have any results, and it can be very challenging for a person to be a guest of the people that live under the bridge to consider himself high value when he has absolutely nothing to show for it.
Oh yeah, most definitely. And I think in that case, that could be a lot of different situations. But I guess it does depend on the individual that is under the bridge. Because I've seen like, and I've even witnessed some life-saving individuals that came from under that bridge who probably just needed a little hand up to get from under that bridge as well. So it's like, you know, a lot of us just need to be connected the right way, and it just, I think in this world, we need to definitely get back to just knowing how to connect with each other. And so, what we're seeing right now is just a lot of different separations of what a connection needs to be. And so, yeah, like a lot of people are saying in the chat right now, there's just a lot of this buzzword. It's been buzzing, so right now I just want everybody to know, and first and foremost, if you haven't subscribed to Venom channel, go ahead and subscribe to his channel, VENOMG54. That's how you can find him. Just look it up on YouTube. He's easier to find on YouTube than I am, because obviously I have a similar name to another celebrity, but we are not the same. That's why I am the other. Okay. But yeah, you're hearing the words from real gentlemen, real men who have been experienced at this thing called a gentleman. Of course, with Venom, he's a little much on the older. He's been around a little longer than me. Let's put it that way. So he understands gentlemen to a greater degree than I do. But at the same time, I've learned from my degree, and so it's still on a level where most people don't understand gentlemen. Let me see. Let me check out what somebody says, and then we'll definitely get back to you, Venom. Let me see. Firepack says, I disagree. You can be a broke, high value male. You just have to be on your ass building a future income. Oh yeah, and there's some truth to that, and I think it probably could be based on you. I mean, as we said, you could be from under the bridge and work on things, because it's kind of like what I think made Jack Dawson such an interesting individual. And I've known somebody that's brought up Jack Dawson a lot that I talked to on and off YouTube. But Jack Dawson, he came on a Titanic boat without hardly anything. But what made him such a high value, or even understanding and probably accepted by other gentlemen, but I believe he was the real gentleman. In some ways, gentleman to me can be the definition of that, could be a man of high value, you know. But yeah, Jack Dawson didn't have the money. Yeah, he was in that Titanic ship with a lot of rich people, and just his ways with this conversation influenced those rich people to where they had to accept him. He outsmarted them at whatever their conversation was. I think they were playing poker games in that movie, and Jack Dawson just beat them with his wisdom. For those who don't know who Jack Dawson is, just check out the Titanic movie. He was played by Leonardo DiCaprio. But yeah, it's all about the wisdom from within that reflects your outers. You can have a guy in a suit, but he don't have no brains at all. None.
And actually, with that comment, it's not that you disagree, you just mistook what it was I spoke on. I said, if you're a guest of the person that's under the bridge with nothing to show for it, you can really call yourself high value, because a high value person is one going to do all that they can to avoid that situation. But things do happen in life. And as I speak on it, I was a high value man in my youth, even before I had as much wisdom and knowledge. Since then, have I been homeless? Yes. But the results were I clawed, dragged, worked, and built and put myself up to a situation to where I can stand before you today. Not rich, not wealthy or well off, but a person that within made that exude to out, meaning the knowledge alone is one factor. The discipline is another factor. The integrity and the honesty are other factors. The balance is yet another factor. Those form Voltron. You got 5 lines right there. So I'm not saying that just because you're in a down situation that you're not high value, because I had people recognize that in me when I was indeed homeless. I was homeless and, like you said, grinding and working. And I went to work every day in clean clothes, looking sharp. Had ladies that wanted their best to get at me. And that wasn't what made me high value. It was the fact that when they asked me for something, because even though I was homeless, I had a vehicle. And one evening they asked me for a ride home. So I said, well, I wouldn't mind, but I can only take one person. And they said, why is that? I said, because I only have room for one. I didn't want to belittle myself and expose that I was homeless, knowing that I was stepping up professional every day. A lot of people told me I was overdressed, but it was the professionalism instilled in me to do so. I had to hold my head high until I drug myself out of the pit I was in. So being high value, meaning that you look within, you see what's going on, and you do everything within your power, even ask for help if necessary, to reestablish yourself. And when they found out that I was indeed homeless and everything I owned was in that vehicle with me, dirty clothes in the trunk, the only thing that I heard from the young lady I gave a ride home was, if I would have known, and it's still hard to believe, but if you ever need anything, you just ask. I said, oh, I'm fine. It's only going to be a temporary situation. She said, well, what about your laundry? Because they saw my effort, persistence, consistency, and on the job performance, regardless to what I was going through. And they had no clue of it. They were not just willing to help, but they felt as if they were not entitled, but as if it was something that they just had to do because it was unbelievable for them. So, yes, she decided to volunteer to do my laundry. I appreciated that. And we were good friends long after I was no longer working there, just due to the fact of she recognized and realized that I wasn't the average and I wasn't a bragger. I wasn't boastful. I was humble. But at the same time, when you are a high value man, it's mental, it's physical, and it's spiritual. So by the time they were able to see that, because my honesty was there. So when it literally came down to the question, yeah, I'm homeless. What do you mean? Where do you stay at for real? I stay at 1994 Dodge Spirit Ave. At the time, I was in San Antonio, Texas. They were a native of. I've never heard of that street, she said. And I said, that's probably because that's my car. So I'm not just speaking on it to rub my mouth. If I don't have experience in something or affirmation and confirmation on something, I'll zip my lip and allow whatever to transpire. I only interject when I speak on something that I know about. And it's not to offend or belittle anybody else's knowledge. It is to share and bring to shed light, bring clarity, and clear the air on this subject matter. Because yes, you may have high value men that are financially well off. I know a few, but never once did they look at me as anything less, regardless to the situations I was in, because we were of the same cloth, just going through different experiences and situations in life. Take it from there, AJ.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, looks like Nicola giving you some good old kudos and yeah, kudos for your
Thank you.
honesty and wisdom, and you look great for your age. So yeah, that's part of the beauty of being durable, and I think that's key to it adds more to the value. Like with cars, some cars maintain their value because of how durable they are, if they were of quality. So once again, this kind of ties in more than what you've heard out there. And we're going to get more into this because kind of goes back to what me and Red Supreme touched upon in a live that we did together, if Red's still in the building. Um, there's this difference between a gentleman and the hooligan. And I know me and you, we've talked about that as well, Venom. So I think that's also my point being is that you have a lot of people trying to define what the high value man is, but a lot of people aren't even gentlemen. A lot of them come from the hooligan background, or a lot of them are just squares trying to assert what they think their idea of what high value is, even though to me, high value is just more so a description. It's not necessarily a label, it's a description of an individual. You describe that person as being of high value, which basically you've been doing this whole time, Venom. You've been describing an individual that is high value versus just saying that's a high value man. And that's what a lot of people, I would hope, understand. I think one thing that also tied to this is, if we got back to the Iron Man suit, ladies, because we're gonna get on the ladies too. We're gonna talk about this. We might as well kind of tie this in. But as y'all noticed, we haven't hardly even talked about women the whole time with this topic of high value men, because this is really what we're talking about. This we giving y'all the pure and the raw and the uncut. So, but just to lightly touch upon this, ladies, contrary to popular belief, you become part of that man's suit. Therefore, you must strive to become symbiotic to that man. As I said before in yesterday's live stream, given the date of this live stream. So, you got to be his rib. You can't be his parasite. You got to add to his value. You got to add to his value. So that's the other thing. They talk about a high value woman being with a high value man, but really more or less it's about the woman adding value to the man. That's what a lot of people don't understand. If you're really a real woman versus a typical female, you're actually going to add value to that man.
That and reinforce that natural order of balance. Because anytime you have a relationship, there's got to be balance, cooperation, reciprocation. You know, them basically being supportive and being a helpmeet means that if that man is humble, he may not be as financially well off, but being that he's balanced and that he's been building himself in multiple planes, in multiple aspects, when you join with that man, say you got well riches and etc. The way it's supposed to be is what you have is to contribute to his legacy, to building what he has going as far as his plan. And if you can't do that, then it's best not to be with a high value man, because a high value man, regardless of his situation in life, is going to have standards. I feel like a high value man, because I know it's the way I exercise it myself. There's no way possible he's going to be a John or a Trick, because that person alone, by paying someone, which should be an equal exchange for a service of which you're going to leave with nothing, you're belittling your own value. And that definitely doesn't add up. A high value man is going to be a minimalist, is going to be somebody that lives within their means or just below their means so that they can obtain another goal and continue to build, whether they have to do it solo or whether or not they'll do it with support. But key word is support. If you have support, you can go far, because that's like extra fuel in that tank of which you already had the engine running. You kept the car maintained. You get a flat, hard times come. A high value man is not only going to know how to change that flat, but also to have the discernment and knowledge to know to pull into a clear area, how to operate that jack, how to get it done as quickly and efficiently as possible for not just safety, but to be timely. High value men are tactical thinkers, whether that be on a spiritual level, a physical level, or a mental level, because it is necessary. That's all I have to say on that aspect for a moment.
Oh yeah, and then everything that we've touched upon, you are not going to hear this from any other video that is out there right now. And I mean, you're not going to hear this from any other video that is out there right now talking about high value man. I'm not bragging. I'm just saying, I'm just spitting facts. You go out there, you're going to get thousands of videos talking about high value men. What we're talking about right now, you're only going to hear that here at this channel and from the words of the other Ray J, yours truly, and Venom. Uh, but yeah, just a final points for myself because yeah, we doing good on time and we just 10 minutes under the hour. This gonna be a nice one. Yeah, you are what you make yourself out to be. So kind of like going back to that Iron Man suit, your suit, yeah, you are what you're making that suit out to be. You know what I'm saying? Even with your value. So kind of like what you spoke on, if you're a work in progress, just simply admit that. But pride ain't gonna get you anywhere. So you got a lot of posers out here. You got a lot of self-proclaimed high value men. They don't really have that kind of value like they claim they do. A lot of people don't see that. They haven't shown folk that type of value, you know. So there's a lot of misconceptions when you hear the term high value man. Yeah, there's a lot of misconceptions with that because they're just self-proclaiming that. No one has really seen that about them, so they can't really say that about them. Uh, Let me see. I am sweet said to you, Venom. She said, Venom, you're also high value because you take care of yourself and your health. Yep, she just described you as high value versus labeling you as high value. That's a good way of saying that. I am sweet. And then Brown Do Life said, yeah, for sure. Uh, Brown Do Life said, spiritual, physical, mental equals high value. Once again, a description, not a label. That's what we're doing over here. You know, so any closing thoughts? We're probably less than 10 minutes before this live is over with. Oh yeah, Cool Gen 87 said real recognize real. But yeah, any closing thoughts about this Venom before we sign out of here for tonight?
Well, we got 10 minutes to the hour, actually 8 now. I'd
Yes,
say
sir.
we elaborate a bit more on the gentleman because a lot of
Yes.
people feel like they look at a gentleman from a blue pill perspective, from a gynocentric standard. A gentleman is somebody that can show professionalism, they can work a job, they can be cordial, but that doesn't mean that they go out of their way to do anything extra. A gentleman is just that, gentle because they choose to be, even though they might be capable of violence. That's the difference. A high value man is going to be someone who is going to do their best to avoid violence. They're not going to be out here slaying their brothers in the streets. And when I say brothers, I'm speaking right now wholeheartedly of Americans, from the Aboriginals and my ancestors that were here originally before it was invaded and folks were distracted, lied to, just about decimated, told that they were something else, history rewritten, that they were here, and they're still here. I'm Creek Nation and Cherokee, but my skin tone has everybody address me as black. I understand because a lot of people are deceived. And I also understand that, it's common terms due to the poisoning of the media and the mainstream and all that, saying that, oh, you black, use a NIGGA. I don't accept that label at all, even less that I would the label of being black. Because, yeah, you can say, oh, black because of skin tone, dark, brown, whatever, but I'm actually Native American. And being American, when I speak and say brothers, I don't care if you're albino, white, whatever. If you were born in this land, you are still Native American. That's what people need to understand about heritage. But due to consumerism, due to the gynocentric standards of society that we live in, a lot of people are distracted because it's all about keeping a cog in the machine. It's saying what must be done because they brainwash you with Disney, G.I. Joe, and a lot of other things in your youth so that they can pretty much control what your future actions will be. A gentleman is one that'll learn to fit within the system. A high value man is one that's going to operate outside of the system because he's focusing inward.
Oh yeah, everybody. So we are definitely yeah, anybody got any questions in the chat? Any other closing thoughts? Anything, any questions you have to Venom, yours truly, any questions? We still got about 5 minutes. We definitely can be here and answer all those questions for y'all. Yeah, most definitely. Bradley 45 said, much appreciation to you both. Those words were like honey to my soul. Keep punching that truth out. For sure, most definitely, Bradley. And thank you for stopping by.
It
Much
was a
love,
pleasure
man.
to share.
And Cool Gen 87 said, a wise man, I like to say. Yeah, likewise to you too, Cool Gent. Likewise to you too, man. Most definitely. Um, yeah, so this was just like a quick overnight. Like me and Venom always was planning on doing a live stream together, and this is just the first of many, most definitely. Oh, yeah. Yeah, of course, yeah, most definitely. Brown do life gynocentrism equals blue pill, most definitely. Yeah. But yeah, we just kind of out the blue was like, let's talk about this. We both understand the realm of a gentleman. And so let's get to it. So oh yeah, and I guess my closing thoughts I can have about this is yeah, when they try to use the word gentleman for doormat, like Brown Do Life alluded to earlier. And see, that's not what a real gentleman is. The gentleman represents a certain hierarchy. And actually, a lot of the realm of the gentry, if you will, they evolved that to even a lot of what you see with the pimps, you know, the not the gorilla pimps, the ones that are doing the bad stuff, but the pimps that aren't trying to be gorilla pimps. A lot of them applied a lot of the gentry, the gentlemen, because for some of y'all don't know, like what represents the gentleman is the bachelor. You have what the player, and then you have the pimp, you have the Mac, as far as in this day and age, you know, gentlemen, but it all represents the original hierarchy, the loyalty of the royalty, if you will. And like you said, Venom, you said what? Above the gentry was the esquire or what? The bishop?
Bishop,
And whose name Bishop? Bishop
Magic
Don
Don
Juan.
Juan.
Yeah, yeah. So Bishop Don Juan knew what he was doing, and he only likes to be addressed as Bishop because he understands the gentry, but he understood what the gentleman was in this day and age. And of course, whenever you bring up the word pimping and things like that, it brings on this bad connotation, which is why I just like to bring up the word gentleman because I knew that's where a lot of those from the pimping were that's where a lot of the pimps got that word from, the gentleman. They uh they understood what we were talking about and they just applied it for their street life. Whereas what we're here talking about with y'all is just kind of some ABCs and one, two, threes. But even with that said, a lot of people haven't gotten that through their head, you know. So Brown Do Life said, let's see what he said. For the ladies watching live and on the replay, gynocentrism may be for women, but remember, the elites don't care about you ladies at the end of the day. Oh yeah, there you go. Yeah, gynocentrism is all about that control and everything. So based on what we're talking about tonight, and based on the last few words that Venom spoke on, is about knowing how to operate outside of that if need be, and that you have kind of not so you have kind of a not so normal way of how you see things, and some of it could be based on what you've learned through the ancients, based on the contemporary, because you know that's um is stood the test of time. You know, what we're talking about stands the test of time and it has stood the test of time. What we're telling you is not new up under the sun. For real, for real.
You can find a lot of evidence of it, one, in the good book, the Old Testament, in the Quran, You could find it in any civilization that lasted a nice long duration and promoted a nice healthy population. But one thing that you're going to find in common with all of them is when you had the greed of a government that enslaved all of its people, gave them false representation, it crumbled. There's always a structure and an order to everything. Cooperation is always better than competition. It's my final words on the issue.
All right, y'all. And then, of course, for tonight, I'm actually going to do something a little different. I won't do my closing statements tonight, but y'all know what it be like, especially those that have been listening to my live streams on the replay. But if you are new to this channel, make sure that you do subscribe, hit that notification bell, make sure you hit that like button, do all that. And thanks for stopping by at this channel. And it's been a pleasure having everybody to come out tonight to check out yours truly and Venom. And once again, make sure you subscribe to his channel. And obviously, yeah, you hopefully you have already subscribed to my channel by now if you've been coming back here. So but yeah, it's been a pleasure having y'all here, and we are going to call it a night for now, and just remember that it's only going to get better from here. And until next time, signing out. And thanks for stopping by, y'all.
Peace.